Welcome to the Standards of Excellence tutorial on why SOE exists. This video will showcase what SOE is, why it was created, and evaluation information to support a greater understanding about how the Standards of Excellence program contributes to the fraternal experience at U of O. If you have not had a chance to review the materials on the FSL website related to SOE, we would encourage you to explore those resources. If you identify any additional resources that would be helpful to you in reaching your annual submission, please do not hesitate to reach out to your chapter coach for more information. First, let's start with what is Standards of Excellence. Sometimes referred to as the acronym SOE, Standards of Excellence is an annual accreditation program that has been adopted by the University of Oregon to showcase the contributions that fraternities and sororities make to the student experience at U of O. This program demonstrates the entire fraternal experience and allows chapters to continually improve with established metrics used by a significant number of campuses and national organizations. The 4 sections of Standards of Excellence capture all of the ways in which the fraternal experience can be its best, and challenges chapters to continually strive to provide an exceptional experience to its membership. Knowing that an individual member's and chapter's actions reflect on all fraternity and sorority members at Oregon and nationwide, our community can only be as strong as its weakest link. The Standards of Excellence program will challenge all fraternity and sorority members to have integrity, steadfast adherence to the oaths we took as we make lifelong commitments to our respective organizations. This program also encompasses the annual award program for fraternities and sororities, and therefore recognition is linked to participation in this program. Chapters at the University of Oregon will only be recognized through this program, and chapters who do not achieve minimum standards will participate in accountability measures. The annual awards program aims to ensure the good work of the FSL community is not overlooked, as we know can sometimes occur. SOE allows chapters to refocus what they are doing internally and externally to create the experience that most closely aligns with fraternal values. We hope that SOE will support chapters who strive to be better this year than they were the last. Our hope is that SOE guides the fraternal community towards our goal of becoming the preeminent fraternal community that students, families, faculty and staff, and others are proud of. The Standards of Excellence program was created to fulfill a need in the University of Oregon community, which was to provide a standardized metric of recognition, accountability, and framework for what is considered a strong fraternal experience at U of O. To support the quality of the fraternity and sorority experience at University of Oregon, the Fraternity and Sorority Life staff and a number of fraternity and sorority student leaders set out to develop a fraternity and sorority chapter Standards of Excellence. Through focus group meetings, surveying of members, and finding comparison information from other institutions, this cohort of students and staff created the Standards of Excellence program. Since this program was launched in early 2019, the program has received a number of improvements that reflected the feedback provided from the first submission process. Now, moving into why chapters should complete an annual submission and the outcomes if a chapter fails to achieve the minimum requirement of 60%. Participating in the Standards of Excellence process is an institutional expectation to be a chapter in good standing at the University of Oregon. This program is widely utilized by campuses and mirrors international organizations' award and accreditation processes. Therefore, completing the steps for UO's program will only aid the chapter in completing their national organization's process. Failing to complete the minimum expectation, which is 60% of the allotted points, will result in additional coaching and specific growth metrics. However, Completing the points that are listed as required for recognition will help chapters in reaching the 60% requirement and will make chapters eligible for award recognition. If a chapter does not score 60%, the chapter shall be required to meet with their FSL advisor to develop a written performance improvement plan. A review of the chapter's progress will be made at the end of the spring term, and the chapter must be performing at 60% or will have met all portions of the performance agreement. There will be no imposed sanctions on the chapter during the spring term, and no sanctions imposed the following fall term if the chapter has attained the mid-year benchmarks for the performance improvement plan. If the chapter has failed to attain the agreed-upon mid-year benchmarks for the performance improvement plan during the spring term, the chapter will lose certain privileges during the fall. If a chapter fails to attain the recognition level a second consecutive year, the chapter will lose privileges at U of O and will be required to develop a new performance improvement plan with mid-year benchmarks equivalent to the recognition standard. A review of the chapter's progress will be made at the end of the spring term. If the chapter has attained the mid-year benchmarks, privileges will be reinstated. If the chapter has failed to attain the agreed-upon mid-year benchmarks to the performance improvement plan, the Director of Fraternity and Sorority Life will withdraw recognition. A decision to withdraw recognition may be appealed to the Dean of Students. However, if a chapter fails to attain the recognition level a third consecutive year, the chapter's recognition will be suspended, subject to appeal to the Vice President of Student Life. A chapter that has its recognition suspended may apply for re-recognition any time after 1 quarter. The Director of Fraternity and Sorority Life may grant re-recognition if the chapter is able to demonstrate that it is performing at the recognition level of 60%. A decision to deny re-recognition may be appealed to the Dean of Students. If a chapter chooses not to complete an SOE submission, the chapter will be referred to the Office of Student Conduct and Community Standards for non-compliance. This process is called failure to comply and would be reviewed as an organizational conduct violation. Organizational conduct violations typically result in educational or probationary sanctions, but can result in changes to recognition for an organization. We hope this overview has been a helpful tool in understanding what SOE is and what metrics are used for accountability through the Standards of Excellence. As mentioned previously, we hope to add resources and continue to improve this program with feedback from advisors and chapter leaders. If you have any questions that cannot be answered by the SOE webpage with resources, please reach out to your chapter coach for additional support. Thank you for viewing this tutorial, and I hope you found it beneficial.